Having debt can be stressful. Not only can it cause you emotional stress and financial stress and relationship stress, but it can also be stressful because there are so many different ideas and philosophies on how to deal with debt. Some people say you should keep it and make minimum payments on it because that is good for your credit. Some people say it's good to take care of your loan with the largest interest rate on it. And still other people say to go after the debt with the smallest amount of principal on it. So which is it, and what are you supposed to do when you have debt? I completely understand the feeling of stress and frustration that comes with having debt because I've been there. When Ross and I got married, we had about $20,000 worth of debt between us, and we decided we wanted to pay it off quickly. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we paid off that debt within 18 months so that we can live a life where we don't have to worry about making payments every month, and instead we get to enjoy the benefits of financial freedom. If we haven't met before, I'm Kassy with MakingTimeForGiggles.com. I make videos all about making mom life simple, so subscribe below and hit the bell next to it to be notified when the next one comes out. Now, the type of debt that we had to pay off just happened to be student loan debt. But if you follow the steps that I'm going to show you in this video, it will work for any type of debt that you want to pay off quickly. So let's get started with the 15 steps that you can take to pay off your debt quickly. Number 1, make sure that everyone is on the same page. If you live by yourself and are planning to pay off the debt by yourself, you can go ahead and skip to the next step. But if you are married or have a partner that you share finances with, then you want to make sure you are both on the same page with wanting to get rid of the debt quickly. If you aren't on the same page, you will probably just end up really frustrated and end up giving up before you pay off your debt. So what do you do if you aren't on the same page, and how do you get on the same page? Well, when Ross and I first got married, we weren't on the same page either. I knew that I wanted to pay the debt off quickly, but he wasn't so convinced. He had heard that it was a good thing to hang on to your student loan debt because it could help you build credit. So we did 2 things that helped us get on the same page with paying off our debt. The first thing we did was we sat down and crunched the numbers. We figured out exactly how much extra we would end up paying if we kept our loan for the full term. Doing the math together can definitely help you and your spouse get on the same page, especially if they are a more logical decision maker. Seeing all that money that you could save and use for something else is enough to convince almost anyone. But the other thing that we did was we sat down and figured out what our goals were as a couple. We really love to travel, and we knew that we wanted to be able to travel together before we had kids. And it's a lot harder to afford travel when you have to make a loan payment every single month. Another thing we knew we wanted as a couple was once we had kids, we wanted me to be able to stay home with them. And it is really hard to live on one income when you have debt that you need to pay off. So in addition to doing the math with your spouse, sit down and come up with your goals as a couple. And you will probably find that it would be a lot easier to accomplish your goals if your debt is paid off. Going over your goals together is a great way to convince your partner to pay off the debt more quickly if they happen to not be as logical of a decision maker and tend to make their decisions with their emotions instead. So doing both of these things should help you and your spouse get on the same page. The second thing you need to do is write down your why. Figure out exactly why you want to pay off your debt quickly and write it down. Writing down your reasons and goals for paying off your debt will help you stick with it. No matter how exciting it is to think about paying off your debt right now, as the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into months and the months possibly turn into years, it is less exciting of a process. And having a clear why and keeping your goals in front of you during this time will help you stick with it until you have paid off your debt. So for us, our why was that we didn't want to have to pay thousands of extra dollars in interest. We wanted to be able to travel before we had kids, and we wanted for me to be able to stay home when we had kids. And those reasons together created a really strong why for us to keep going even when it wasn't the most fun thing to do. Number 3, continue to make minimum payments on each loan. As you work to pay off your debt quickly, remember to make the minimum payment on each loan that you have. And you want to do this for 2 reasons. The first reason is you don't want to default on any of your loans. It can really hurt your credit and you will probably end up getting some late fees. The second reason is paying the minimum on each loan will help you pay off your debt faster. So say for example that you have 4 loans. You want to start by making the minimum payment on each one. Then as the first loan gets paid off, you are now going to take this minimum payment and move it over to this loan. Then as this loan gets paid off, you are going to take both this minimum payment and this minimum payment and put it towards this loan. So as you begin to pay off your loans, you will gain momentum and each loan will be easier and easier to pay off. The fourth thing you need to do is decide how you want to tackle the loans. There are 3 basic ways that people often choose to pay off their debt. The first way is to pay off the loan with the largest interest rate first. The second way is to pay off your largest loan first. And the third way is to pay off the smallest loan first. If you want to pay off your debt quickly, you have to start with the smallest loan. So let's say again that you have 4 loans. One for $1,000, one for $2,000, one for $4,000, and one for $8,000. You want to start with the $1,000 loan, regardless of the interest rates. The reason that you want to start with the smallest loan is because when you are first starting to pay off your debt, you have the least amount of extra cash to put towards your loans. As you pay off your first loan, you automatically have more income to put towards your second loan because you are taking that minimum payment for the first one and putting it towards the second one. So you want to start with the smallest amount of principal first because that is the least amount of money you will have to pay off your debt. And as you move towards the largest one, you will have all of these extra minimum payments that you can be putting towards the largest one, and it will get paid off much more quickly. Paying off the smallest loan first will also give you a quicker win and keep you motivated to continue paying off your debt. Number 5, decide which loans you are going to pay off. Look at all of the loans you have, your car loans, your student loans, your house loans, and decide which ones you are going to take care of. When we were making this decision, we decided not to include our house loan. If you can include your house loan and want to have absolutely no debt, that is awesome, and go ahead and do that. But for us, it just didn't make a lot of sense because when we bought our house, we were already on one income and we weren't going to be able to pay it off quickly. But no matter which loans you decide to pay off or keep, be sure that you and your spouse are on the same page about it before you begin your journey of paying off your debt. The 6th thing you need to do if you want to pay off your debt quickly is you need to start a budget. If you really want to pay off your debt quickly, you have to get organized. And by getting organized, I mean you need to create a budget and stick with it. Every dollar you make needs to have a place in your budget, and you need to stick with that budget religiously. You can even use your budget as an excuse if you need to say no to somebody. Let them know that you would love to do whatever they're inviting you to do, but your budget just won't allow for it right now. And this will help you stay on track even when something more exciting comes along. If you'd like some help creating your budget, I will put my beginner's budgeting workbook in the description down below, and you can grab that and print it off, and it will walk you through creating your budget. The 7th thing you need to do is cut your expenses. If you want to get serious about paying off your debt quickly, you want to cut your expenses back to the bare minimum. And by the bare minimum, I mean other people will think you are crazy for living so cheaply. I will put a link in the description below with a full list of the things that we did to save money while we were paying off debt. But some of the craziest things that we did were we lived without a dining room table. We actually borrowed a card table from my husband's uncle. We didn't have a single TV in our house because neither of us had one before we got married, and we didn't purchase one after we got married. We shared a vehicle, which by the way, makes you pretty creative when you both need to get somewhere. We almost never went out to eat, and I learned to cut both of our hair at home. I'd be lying if I told you that we never got grief from friends and family for doing some of these crazy things. But since we knew our why and we cared so much about it, it didn't matter. We had our goal of paying off debt, and we were going to stick with it and get that accomplished no matter what. So do what you need to do to put any extra money you can toward paying off your debt quickly. Say goodbye to expensive hobbies if you have them, cook more often at home, share a vehicle, and anything else that you can think of to cut back on your monthly expenses. Number 8, determine your extra monthly payments. Now that we have our budget and we've cut down on our expenses, we can determine exactly how much extra we can put toward that smallest loan every month. Even if you can only spare an extra $20 every month, put it toward the loan. Every little bit helps, and every little bit will get you to your goal faster. Here's a little tip for you though. When you are paying extra on a loan, be sure that you are putting all of that extra money towards the principal only. If you just send it to the bank, they will count it as an extra monthly payment, which includes the interest. And when you're paying your loans off quickly, you will be saving a lot of money on the interest. So you don't need to pay all of the interest that they have accounted for. So be sure that any extra payments that you send in are going towards principal only, which is the dollar amount that is left on the loan. The 9th thing you need to do if you want to pay off your debt quickly is get a second job. Money is not going to start falling from the sky just because you decided to pay off your loans quickly. If you have been barely scraping by and living paycheck to paycheck, you're going to need to get a second job or another source of income if you want to pay off your debt quickly. When we first got married, I desperately wanted to get a job in marketing, since that is what I had my degree in, and that was the reason I had all of this debt in the first place. Unfortunately, I could not find a job in marketing for the first year that we were married. But instead of sitting around waiting for that perfect job to come my way, I went down to the local temp agency and I got any job they would give me. The job that they found for me was in data entry. And unfortunately, my least favorite job in the world is data entry. In short, I hated it. I didn't want to go to work every day, and I would even tease Ross on the way to work since we carpooled together. I would say to Ross, "Please don't make me go, I don't want to go back." And every day he would laugh at me and drop me off at my data entry job. And even though I hated the job, I still did it anyway every single day because I wanted so badly to pay off our debt so we could start living the life we wanted to. As I was working these jobs, half of my income went towards paying off our debt and half of it went toward building up our savings. Now, if you are a stay-at-home mom and don't want to leave your kids during the day, no problem. There are so many options for being able to work from home or work with your kids with you. For example, you could drive for Grubhub, or you could set up a profile on Upwork and begin freelancing, or you could reach out to an influencer or online business and see if they could use anyone to help them out remotely. There are so many options for being able to make some extra cash from home. Get creative and find some ways to make extra money. Just remember to put all that extra cash towards paying off your loans. Number 10, live on one income. If you already have 2 incomes coming in, cut back all of your expenses until they can fit on one income. Even when I finally did get that marketing job a year after we got married, we didn't raise our standard of living to account for a second full-time income. We continued to live off of Ross's income until all of the debt was paid off. Living on one income can help you pay off your debt much more quickly, especially when you have that second income or are working on a side hustle from home. Even if you never plan on being a single income family, being able to live on one income is a handy skill to have in your back pocket, just in case you experience job loss or something like that down the road. The 11th thing you need to do if you want to pay off your debt quickly is throw any extra money that you can at the loans. Tax return, stimulus check, unemployment check, anyone? Anytime that you are handed a lump sum of money, put everything that you can afford into the loan. Obviously, if you need some of these things to pay for your expenses, like in the case of an unemployment check, pay for your expenses first. But once your basic needs are being met, put everything else towards your loans. It can be really tempting to spend these chunks of money on something fun. After all, you deserve it, right? You've been working really hard to pay off your loans. But I would caution you against rewarding yourself before you have completed your goal. You will feel less motivated to get serious about paying off your debt when you feel like you have already been rewarded. Save your reward for once all of your debt is paid off and put any extra money that you can toward paying off your loans. Number 12, sell things and put the money towards the debt. You will be amazed how much money you can make by selling things that have just been sitting around your house collecting dust. I had an old violin that my parents had bought me when I was 14. They had paid $75 for it, and every time I had tried to tune it, I would break strings, so I never ended up learning to play. I decided I would try to sell it. I listed it for $75, figuring someone would offer me $25 or maybe $50, but I figured there was no way I would get $75 for it. Well, when somebody came to check it out, I showed them all the broken strings and figured they would offer me much less than my price. But he said, "Great, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted an instrument that I could play with and take apart and put back together." So he gave me $75 for it. You just never know what something that has no value to you would be worth to somebody else. Plus, this can help you declutter your house at the same time. Number 13, don't accumulate debt as you are paying it off. If you struggle with putting things on a credit card when you can't afford it, pay for everything in cash. And if you can't afford something, don't buy it. Number 14, determine a reward. Ross and I both love to travel. So when we got married, we decided that each of us would choose a destination that we had always wanted to go to and go there before we had kids. The only rule that we gave ourselves was that we had to pay off our debt first. It felt so wonderful when we had paid off our debt to be able to go on our trip to New Zealand, which is the place that Ross had always wanted to go to. Your reward doesn't have to be as large as a full trip, but it should be something that makes it worth it to keep going and something that you will be really excited about when you get to it. And number 15 is to stick with it. It's not going to be easy to get out of debt, and it takes a lot of discipline to reach your goal. But the truth is that anyone can do it. It just takes some creativity, determination, and patience. Let me know in the comments down below why you are deciding to pay off your debt And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up so more people can find it. Again, I'm Kassy with MakingTimeForGiggles.com, and I make videos all about making mom life simple. So be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell next to it so you can be notified when the next video is available. I'll see you on the next one.